Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Friday, October the 10th, 2025, and today's topic is sketching a medieval gate. But before we begin, welcome back if you're returning and welcome if you're new to the channel. I sketch and post every day and I use a timer to stay focused and to build a habit. I'll start a 10-minute timer. So yeah, I just found a picture of a medieval gate if you want to follow along or just get some ideas or just watch me sketch something. So you can find a picture reference, for example, and copy it, and that's fine. And I'm mostly going to go off of it, but I did a video a little while ago about like how to deconstruct reference so that you actually understand how to draw something versus how to copy something, which isn't really that useful. It's kind of a useful skill, but really I just use that for like detail or maybe lighting or something like that, like some or like even like kind of the design of it. But it doesn't necessarily mean you can draw it from imagination or like change it up that easily. So I'll do this in a way where maybe it can help you to understand like how to just know how to draw something, even if you're just kind of looking off of reference. So with that said, I'm going to spend maybe a minute or two just sketching like the door. But before I even do that, this might help if you're kind of wanting to follow along or understand or just are interested in drawing. So for example, to begin with, we have basic shapes. So let's say that like the gate or like the door. Now I picked this because it just kind of popped into my head. Well, the reason is because I feel like drawing is like a gateway into doing art, like for me, and it can be for a lot of people, and that's what it is for me. So I don't know if this thing's running out, but that's okay. I kind of like these because of that. It's sort of sketchy like this. So that's like the front view, and it could be like inspired by the picture. Like it doesn't look exactly like it, but there's kind of like an arch kind of thing. So I'm just going to use, so this is like a thumbnail. So I'm just going to use this to kind of get like the feel of it, because it helps me like with the symmetry and with kind of just the overall kind of look of it. And then there's this kind of thing going on. And so it's kind of a way to get into it. So that's basically a square. So let's put it into like perspective, because in the picture I have, there's some perspective. So I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to draw this, and then I'm going to kind of a square shape, but I'm going to give it perspective, meaning they're not equal, because if they were equal, it'd be like a square, like a front view. But if they're not equal, then it kind of does this sort of thing. Like there's some kind of perspective. There's like an angle to it. So that's like another thing to kind of get used to. Now, I call it just sort of faking perspective, or just doing it like visually. Meaning, if you have this, you can kind of do it parallel, and it'll usually work. So maybe that's like isometric. I don't know what the technical term is, but depending on what you need to use it for, like this will usually work for like an illustration or a comic panel. So let's pretend this is a panel. And so let's just go off of this one. This isn't exactly like the reference, but it's like the idea of it. Kind of like this. If you just keep everything sort of like in proportion, I think that's probably the best way to think about it. Like if you keep everything in proportion, it'll look correct visually. It may not be 100% mathematically correct perspective wise, but usually it doesn't, like that's not what you're looking for anyway. But it won't be like so off that like it messes with the picture. The other thing would be like, how do you handle like this perspective? one, you can play around with it. Like, see, I just did this. And that's how you get like this one. So it's actually going somewhere over here. But I just kind of made them kind of parallel, like right here. And again, I mean, a lot of times just shading stuff. It's like it's in shadow and stuff like that. At least for the stuff I like to draw, which is kind of more natural and like medieval type stuff, like organic looking, instead of just like mechanical type stuff. So now that you have like this kind of grid, I mean, this might turn into kind of a deep dive, but this is like the basic, like how to draw something. So see, now that you have this, then you can get your like archway. Now this gate is interesting because it has like a little door. It's kind of why I wanted to draw it. So that gives it a sense of scale. And then there's details in the picture. So yeah, I'm using reference, but like I drew this. And of course the design could come also from the reference. That's design is kind of its own thing too. Coming up with designs. That's kind of a different topic because that's about understanding. There's a lot that goes into it. I mean, things look a certain way because of the technology and like the culture and like the just the aesthetic of like stuff. So that's one way to get like this kind of thing, to sort of understand like how to actually draw it rather than just copying it. So we are sketching a gate, but this is the basic construction of it. And then you can kind of add the depth and everything, like detail basically, like this. And it'll look okay in perspective. You can put a person, because that's like the door, so I have a mixture of a picture, like I had a picture and then I drew this, which is using it as reference, which is not copying. I'm going to move a little bit more towards like how to copy something. So with this kind of in mind, I'm going to just kind of copy, meaning I'm going to draw like, I'm going to draw this. Make more of kind of like an illustration, because that's to me like it's a sketch, but it's not really like an illustration. So I'm going to make an illustration that fits kind of right here. And I like to do the border in pencil so that I can fix it later. So this one will be a little bit more like what the, and more like an illustration, but also like what the like the reference looks like. So more of kind of a copy. So with that in mind, now that I have this, since it's a picture, like a photo, like I have this, so I can copy. So it's a little different because like I'm just gonna do this, and this is also useful for drawing from life. Like let's say you're sitting in front of like this gate. So that's kind of how I like to approach it. So let's say that this is here, and then this is here. So as I'm just sitting, I'm gonna pretend like I'm kind of staring at like this gate here, like in real life. I know that there's gonna be like these lines, kind of like right there. And the way it's gonna work is that I'm just going to get as far as like the sketch. I won't do too much of like the light and dark, because this is like the composition. So what happens is that, let's say you're sitting in front of, like you're on location, But in this case, I have like a reference. What happens is that I'm using the reference and I'm copying it, but like this is the actual sort of drawing right here. So what that means is, let's say that I draw a vertical line, because I knew that there were these lines, like kind of horizontal, but like going in perspective, it's angled, it's diagonal. But then there's also like a straight line because of the door, like that's where it opens. So then I'm going to base everything off of my drawing. So I'm going to decide, like I'm going to do this, like, because the door is like, I'm kind of going off of this. So there's two doors. So I know this is going to be vertical. So because I decided that that's how wide that door is going to be. So there's going to be a vertical line, which is like that. And then the next thing would be, well, how wide should that be? You can keep it kind of similar. So for example, like however wide you think that is, like it could be about that wide, like about equal. And then the next thing would be like how tall in here. So again, you can kind of make up some stuff, and plus I'm kind of looking off a reference. So if you do have reference, or if you're just sitting in front of this gate in real life, you can decide like it goes up about like that tall, and just kind of sketch it in, and then just kind of sketch in like the archway, and then you'll have this part, and then you can just decide to kind of keep it parallel. So let's just do this. I'm just going to keep it kind of parallel to this, like these lines right here. And so if I do that, then I get this arch right there. So in this way, you can still look at the reference and it'll look, you can make it look like just like it as far as just like the design and everything, but you're still drawing it. It's going to look okay in your drawing. So then you can start to just establish like the rest of it. So that's why I did it in pencil, because I can fix some of the, like, I don't want to have to think about like the border. For like that smaller door, you can just sketch something in right here. You can keep it as a square to begin with before adding the, so again, for like the perspective, I'm just keeping it pretty like parallel right here. I mean, you can make some adjustments as you add like the detail, but for the most part, that should work for this drawing. And that's like the key thing. Like, it should work for like this particular drawing, because each drawing is its own thing. So kind of like this. So that's basically how you would sketch that out. Now I kind of like doing this sort of topic because it goes with the story I'm working on, which is like a fantasy story, but then also just like the sketchiness of it. I don't like to use too many straight edges and stuff. I don't have the patience for it. But yeah, you can kind of just clean it up as you go along. Yeah, that's what I wanted to sketch and share with you today. I want to thank you for joining me for our daily sketching routine, and if you enjoy these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it, and until next time, keep on sketching.